You told them you forgave them, and you meant it. There was no anger left in your chest. No resentment burning quietly in the background. No fantasy of revenge replaying in your mind. You genuinely wished them well. And yet, years later, you still remember the exact words they used. The exact tone. The exact second something inside you shifted. The light in the room. The smell in the air. The look on their face. All of it, archived in 4K. So people tell you something cruel. They say you haven't really forgiven. That if you truly let it go, you wouldn't remember. That real forgiveness erases the file. And a small part of you starts to wonder if they're right. Stop wondering, because neuroscience says something completely different. You forgave perfectly. Your brain just refused to delete the evidence. And here's what almost no video on this topic will tell you. That refusal isn't a flaw in your character. It isn't bitterness wearing a mask. It isn't unresolved trauma sabotaging your peace. It's the most sophisticated threat management system the human nervous system ever built. And tonight, you're going to understand exactly how it works inside you. Start with a simple question. What is forgiveness, really? Most people think it's deletion. Press a button, the file disappears. The hard drive forgets. That's not how the brain works. Dr. Felipe de Brigard at Duke University studies this exact mechanism. His research reveals something most therapists never explain. Forgiveness operates through emotional fading, not episodic fading. Translation in plain language. The factual memory stays intact, with full detail. What changes is the suffering attached to it. Read that again. The memory stays. The pain leaves. That is what forgiveness actually is, neurologically. So when you said, "I forgive you," you weren't lying. You were saying something far more precise. I've removed the pain from this memory, not I've erased the record. Those are two completely different operations, and your brain refuses to confuse them. There's a reason for that. Meet Joseph Ledoux, the neuroscientist who mapped the amygdala, the small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain that handles threat. His research uncovered something brutal and beautiful. Emotionally significant events are encoded differently, especially betrayal. The amygdala flags them as survival relevant. Then it archives them at maximum resolution, like a black box recorder from a plane crash. Every detail, every voice, every micro-expression, sealed and stored forever. Your brain didn't malfunction when it refused to forget. It followed protocol. Protocol that says, this data is too important to lose. Think about what that means about you. Your nervous system identified that betrayal as life-critical information. It made an executive decision. Never lose this file, because losing it could cost everything. That's not weakness. That's a survival instinct refined by millions of years of evolution. Now here's where it gets sharper. Dr. Robert Enright at the University of Wisconsin spent decades studying forgiveness. He discovered something that changes everything. There are two kinds of forgiveness, and they live in different parts of you. Decisional forgiveness, the conscious choice to release resentment. The moment you decide, I will not carry this hatred anymore. That's a frontal lobe operation. Logic, will, identity. Then there's emotional forgiveness, the felt resolution deep in the body, the slow recalibration of the nervous system. These two processes are neurologically separate. They operate independently. Most people don't know this, which is why they confuse memory with grudge. The person who forgives instantly has mastered the first one. They decided, they released, they moved on. And here's the part that finally makes you exhale. The memory retention reflects the second process still working, still processing, still integrating, still updating, which is not the same as not forgiving. It's forgiveness operating on a timeline the body controls, not the mind. Let that sink in. Your forgiveness wasn't fake. It was complete on one level and still finishing on another. Both are real, both are valid. Now go deeper. Because for some of you, this memory bias didn't come from nowhere. Judith Herman, the pioneer of complex trauma research, discovered something brutal. Hyper-vigilance creates a memory bias. Threatening and betrayal-related information gets encoded at higher resolution, and it resists forgetting, almost violently. For people with relational trauma histories, never forgetting isn't a choice. It's the threat detection system doing exactly what it was trained to do. Trained by what? Trained by every moment you weren't safe, but had to pretend you were. Every time you had to read the room before you read your own emotions. Every promise broken before you were old enough to expect promises to be kept. Your nervous system built itself a library, cross-referenced, indexed, permanent, so it would never be caught off guard again. That library isn't a flaw. It's the price of admission for everyone who survived something they shouldn't have had to. Now here's the counterintuitive finding most people miss, the kind that quietly explains years of your behavior. The high-resolution memory of a forgiven betrayal can operate as a covert control system. Below conscious awareness, the cortex has moved on. The amygdala archive hasn't been updated. Your conscious mind sends warm regards. Your nervous system keeps one hand on the exit. This creates subtle behavioral patterns you can't fully explain. Slightly more guarded with that person. Slightly faster to exit a conversation that starts to echo the old one. Slightly quicker to notice the same pattern emerging in someone new. You can't explain why. You just know. And here's the part that breaks people. You genuinely believe you've forgiven. And you have. Your nervous system just hasn't updated the file. It's not contradiction. It's coexistence. Open heart upstairs. Locked archive downstairs. Both functioning perfectly, both protecting you in different ways. So now you need the most important self-diagnostic you've probably never been given. I call it the archive versus grudge distinction. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. A grudge has specific signatures. Active resentment burning quietly when you think of them. Desire for revenge. Even small ones. Punishing behavior. Cold shoulders, pointed silences, wanting them to suffer in some small way. That's emotional forgiveness incomplete. That's the wound still open and infected. The amygdala archive looks completely different. Genuine goodwill toward the person. You'd help them if they were drowning. You don't fantasize about their downfall. You hope, sincerely, that they grow. But automatic pattern matching fires the second similar behavior appears. Not with them, with anyone. The pattern itself becomes the threat. Not the person. That's emotional forgiveness complete. And the threat system operating independently. Here's the cleanest way to feel the difference. A grudge is a prison you're keeping someone in. An archive is a record you're keeping for yourself. A grudge demands their suffering as payment. An archive demands nothing from them and everything from your discernment going forward. A grudge keeps you tied to the past. An archive frees you to walk into the future with your eyes open. Most videos on this topic miss this entirely. They tell you to let go and forget, as if memory itself were the enemy. It isn't. Memory is the evidence your future self needs to make sharper decisions. So the next time someone tells you that real forgiveness means forgetting, you'll know. They're describing amnesia, not forgiveness. And there's a profound difference. You are not bitter. You are not secretly holding on. You are not failing at forgiveness. You have the rarest combination a human being can develop. A genuinely open heart. And a nervous system that learned, the hard way, never to be surprised by the same thing twice. That is not a curse. That is wisdom written directly into your biology. And here's where it gets even more specific. Because that kind of nervous system, the one that forgives fast, stores everything, and quietly recalibrates. It almost never developed in a stable, safe childhood. It developed in one where the child had no one to rely on but themselves, where they learned to read every room before they learned to speak their own needs, where they managed every emotion alone, in silence, in the dark, and built an entire inner world that no one was ever invited into. If that's you, the next video is your origin story. It's on your screen right now. Watch it.